In the heart of a busy town, where the roads were noisy and the buildings were tall, there was a secret, a beautiful garden. It was a place where the air felt sweet and the grass was always cool under your feet. Every flower had a story to tell. If you closed your eyes, you could hear the soft splash of the stone fountain and the chirping of sparrows as they shared the morning news. Deep inside, there was a secret pond. The water was so still that it looked like a mirror for the clouds. Little frogs played hopscotch on the lily pads. In the very center stood the old banyan tree. Its roots were like giant arms reaching out to give the garden a big green hug. The tree was hundreds of years old. It had seen many children grow up, and its branches were strong enough to hold 1,000 dreams. This was where Mira lived. Well, she didn't sleep here, but her heart did. Mira was 9 years old and had the curliest hair you've ever seen. Mira loved to share the garden. Every evening she would push her friends on the swings and listen to their laughter fill the air. Mira had a secret. She believed that if you whispered kind words to the flowers, they would bloom a little brighter just for you. "This is my favorite place in the whole world," Mira told her best friend Anjali. Anjali nodded. "Mine too. I wish we could stay here forever." They would share their dreams and their snacks under the cool shade. "When I grow up, I want to be a gardener like Kadabai," Anjali said. As the sun began to set, the garden would turn into a golden kingdom. The butterflies would dance their final dance of the day. Old Kadabai, the gardener, would watch them and smile. He knew that the children were the most important flowers in his garden. Every tree starts as a tiny seed and a lot of patience, Kadabai would tell them. He taught them how to listen to the leaves. Expedition stop. Grab your backpack and adjust your pillow. What is your favorite game to play in a garden? Let's think for 10 seconds. But one morning, the golden light was gone. A large, dusty truck pulled up near the gate. It was noisy and smelled like smoke. The heavy wheels crunched over the small daisies by the path. The birds flew away, startled by the sudden loud noise. Men in hard hats stepped out. They didn't look at the flowers. They only looked at their papers and their measuring tapes. One man put a bright red X on the banyan tree. To him, it wasn't a home for dreams. It was just wood that needed to be moved. "Who are they?" Rohan asked. "Why are they in our garden?" Priya whispered. The children stopped playing. The garden went quiet. Mira didn't wait. She walked right up to the tall man with the mustache. "Excuse me," she said, her voice small but steady. "What are you doing?" "We're here to build shops, little girl," Mr. Sharma said. "This land has been sold. Progress doesn't wait for flowers." "But what about the birds?" Mira asked. "What about the squirrels? And where will we play?" Mr. Sharma didn't answer. He just looked at his watch. Mira stood frozen. Shops instead of roses, concrete instead of the banyan tree. Her heart felt heavy, like a stone in her chest. That evening, no one played. The swings sat still. The flowers seemed to droop as if they knew the builders were coming back. The children sat in a circle. Anjali was crying softly. "What will we do without our garden?" she asked. No one had an answer, until Mira spoke. "We won't let them take it," Mira said, wiping her tears. "We're going to save the garden, all of us, together." "We have something more powerful than their trucks," Mira continued. "We have our voices, and we have our love for this place." Expedition stop. Little thinkers, how would you feel if your favorite park was taken away? Tell your pillow about it. 10 seconds to think. In the town square, the adults were talking too. "The papers are signed," one man said. "We're just ordinary people. We can't fight big builders." "It's progress," another said with a sigh. "We need shops, I suppose." They were too busy and too tired to see the magic they were losing. "Even the adults have given up," Anjali whispered. But Mira shook her head. "Then we won't wait for adults. We'll do it ourselves." Mira called a secret meeting. "If we make the garden more beautiful than ever, everyone will see why it's worth saving," she explained. The next morning, before the sun was even fully awake, Mira was ready. She had her shovel, she had her seeds. and she had her courage. She brought her favorite seeds, marigolds. They were bright like little pieces of the sun hidden in the earth. She started to work. She pulled the weeds that had grown long. She dug small holes for her seeds. "Don't worry," she whispered to the dirt. Her plan was simple: make the garden so beautiful that no one would dare destroy it. And soon, she wasn't alone. One by one, her friends arrived. Rohan brought a brush and started to scrub the old fountain. "Look, the stone is white again," he cheered as the clear water bubbled up. Priya carefully planting a small rose bush. Soft animation. Siddharth, a teenager who loved to paint, brought his brushes. He started to paint a mural of 100 butterflies on the back wall. They picked up every piece of trash. They swept the paths until they were clean and wide. The garden began to breathe again. Every hand made a difference. They planted new saplings, tiny trees that would one day grow tall and provide shade for the children of the future. They watered the dry patches. They found the old broken benches and painted them bright blue and yellow. The colours were like sunshine on a cloudy day. They even painted a rainbow. Finally, Meera made a sign. She used her best handwriting. "Our garden, please don't take it away." She hung it right by the gate for all to see. They even decorated the fence with colourful ribbons. The garden didn't just look clean, it looked loved. It looked like a celebration. Expedition stop. If you were painting the garden benches, what colours would you choose? Shout them out loud. 10 seconds to choose. To get everyone to visit, they held a tiny garden fair. They made lemonade and painted smooth river stones to give away as garden hearts. That evening, when the parents came to pick up their children, they stopped. They didn't see a grey, sad place. They saw a garden full of life and colour. "I can build a new bench," Rohan's father said, inspired by his son's hard work. "I can bring more seeds," Priya's mother added. The adults joined in. The local baker brought warm cookies for the little gardeners. "Our town needs more of this," he said. The garden was becoming a community. Even the postman stopped his rounds to help. "I've delivered letters here for years," he said. "This garden is where the town's spirit lives." What started with one girl became a family mission. What started with children became a town movement. The garden was glowing with unity, but Meera knew more was needed. "The builders won't listen to children," she told her mother, "but maybe they'll listen to the whole town." They wrote a letter to the town leader. It spoke about the trees, the birds, and the memories. It was a letter full of hope and truth. Meera looked at an old photo. This garden was where she learned to walk. It was part of her history. She had to protect it for others. The next day, Meera took the letter to every house. She knocked on every door and told every story. People listened, and then they signed. The librarian signed her name with a flourish. "Stories belong in gardens as much as books," she said. Meera's list was growing. The shopkeeper signed. "I'll keep this on my counter," he said. "Everyone who comes in will sign." The list of names grew longer and longer. At the school, the teachers signed. In the tea stalls, the old men signed. Page after page was filled with the town's promise to protect their home. Even the busy town doctor stopped to sign. "Nature is the best medicine," he told Meera with a wink. The town was speaking as one. "Expedition stop. If you were Meera, who is the first person you would ask to sign your letter? Tell your backpack. 10 seconds to think." Finally, Meera stood in front of the town leader's office. She held 347 signatures in her hands. Her heart was pounding, but her feet were firm. She waited for a long time. The clock on the wall ticked loudly, but Meera didn't leave. She was here for her garden. She was here for her friends. Sarita Madam, the town leader, read the letter slowly. She looked at the names. 347 names, she whispered. "That's half the town." "The garden is half the town's heart, madam," Meera said. "Please come and see it." Sarita Madam looked into Meera's eyes and nodded. "I will come." That night, Mira couldn't sleep. She looked out at the garden. "Tomorrow is the big day," she whispered to the moon. She felt a mix of fear and hope. The next morning, Sarita Madame visited. She saw the painted benches. She saw the new flowers. She saw a grandmother sharing a story with her grandchild. It felt as if the flowers were smiling at her. The garden was no longer just a plot of land. It was a living, breathing part of the town. She touched the old banyan tree. "I grew up here too," she whispered. Mira sat beside her. "Will it be here for my children?" Mira asked quietly. Sarita Madame remembered herself as a little girl, playing on these same roots. She realized that progress shouldn't mean losing our history. Sarita Madame smiled. "I have the power to change the decision, Mira," she said, "and I already have." Mira's heart leaped for joy. Thank you so much," Mira cried. She wanted to run and tell the whole world. The garden was safe, the banyan tree would stay. In the town square, the crowd gathered. Sarita Madam stood on the stage. "The garden will stay," she announced. "It is our home, and we will keep it." The town erupted. It was the loudest cheer the square had ever heard. The people realized that together they were stronger than any truck. The crowd erupted. Children cheered, parents cried with joy, and Mira was lifted high. They had saved their garden. They had saved their heart. The dusty truck drove away, leaving only the sound of birds behind. The builders were gone, but the garden was more alive than ever. Even Mr. Sharma, the builder, came over. "You taught me something, little girl," he said. "Progress doesn't have to destroy happiness. I want to help." "Here," he said, handing her some seeds, "for the new corner of the garden." He had learned that some things are more valuable than money. He donated money for new swings and more flowers. Even the builder became a gardener that day, because when a child leads, adults learn to follow. Expedition Stop. Little thinkers, what is one small thing you can do to make your neighborhood better? Tell a friend. 10 seconds to think. A few weeks later, a big storm came. The wind was strong and the rain was heavy. The children worried about their new little saplings. Mira and her friends didn't hide. They went out with their umbrellas and small covers. They protected the tiny trees from the heavy rain. When the sun came out, the garden was sparkling. The plants were strong because they were cared for, just like the children's friendship. With Mr. Sharma's donation, the new swings arrived. They were bright red and reached high into the air. Every child had a turn to fly. They also built a little library bench. Now, children could read their favorite stories under the shade of the ancient banyan tree. They even created a special butterfly garden. It was a place where colors seemed to fly. Mira often sat here to think and to dream. To celebrate 1 year of saving the garden, they had a giant cake. It was shaped like the banyan tree and covered in sugar flowers. Yum! One morning, a bright blue butterfly, the first of its kind in our town, landed right on Mira's finger. The garden was a home once more. The children made flower crowns to wear. They were the princes and princesses of their own green kingdom, and the banyan tree was their throne. Mira became the garden's storyteller. She told the new children how a small shovel and a big heart can change the world. Everyone listened. When a new family moved to town, Mira was the first to welcome them. She handed a small shovel to the new boy and showed him where to plant his hope. They left the garden heart stones for visitors to find. Each stone was a reminder that this place was saved by the love of children. The garden wasn't just a place anymore. It was the town's spirit. It was the proof that even in a noisy world, there is always room for a secret garden. Expedition Stop. Little thinkers, what was your favorite part of Mira's big adventure? Tell your pillow. 10 seconds to think. 1 year later, the garden was more beautiful than ever. There was a new sign at the gate. Mira's garden, saved by a girl, loved by a town. Mira was a year older now, but she still loved the garden just as much. She had learned that one person, even a small one, can change everything. Mira stood before the town. "The things you love are worth fighting for," she said. "So fight, even if you're small, especially if you're alone. Every one of you has a voice that matters," she continued. "Use it to protect the beauty in our world. Use it to keep our hearts whole." And that night, as the birds sang their goodnight songs, Mira sat under her banyan tree and smiled. Her garden was safe. Her home was whole. The fairy lights twinkled like stars that had come down to rest in the grass. The garden was at peace, and so was the town. Final expedition stop. If you had a magic garden, what is the first thing you would grow? A flower, a tree, or a dream? 10 seconds to dream. Did you enjoy our story expedition? If you want to go on more adventures with me, please click the subscribe button and hit the bell. A wise choice, little thinkers. Protecting what brings happiness is the greatest adventure of all. Happy scouting. One girl, one garden, one town, one heart. Protect what brings happiness.